Hi YouTube users, this is KevRev7 back with another tutorial. Today I'm going to show you a brief tutorial on how to set up NAT. I highly suggest that you go ahead and do some reading on NAT before you watch this tutorial, as it can get very complex, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, you might want to pull your hair out, so it would be a good idea to do that. I'm going to be talking about static NAT, dynamic NAT, and NAT overload, also known as PAT. The brown network is where I'm going to configure static NAT. The green network is where I'm going to do dynamic NAT, and the purple is where I'm going to do NAT overload. And I'll give you a brief overview really quickly. Static NAT assigns a public address to a private address, and it never changes. It's great for web servers. That's what it's good for. Dynamic NAT, it's good in the sense that you can create a pool, like a pool of IP addresses, public IP addresses, and that pool's always dynamically and continuously assigned to private addresses. And then the last and my favorite is NAT overload. This allows you to have one public address working for hundreds of private addresses. And if you don't know how that works and you want to figure out how it works, do some reading on it. It's very interesting. It takes the private source address, links it with a port number, and then when it links it with the port number as it's going out, and when the packet comes back in, it looks at the port number of the public address and matches it back to the private address through the port number, which is really neat and interesting, so you should have a look at that if you can. Okay, so I'm going to start with static, and I'm going to do that on router 2 because it's closest to the brown network where we're going to be working on, which is 172.168.1.32. The network address, not the DHCP server. Anyway, okay, enough talk. So here we go. IP NAT inside source, and then you want to specify static, very important, and you want to say the address you want to statically assign the private address, which is 172.168.1.33. This is this IP address over here, DHCP server, and then you want to say the name of the number of the public address, which is 207.168.1.1, and that is right over here, this interface, serial 20. Okay, then you want to specify which is the inside interface, which is private, and which is the outside interface, which is public. Just remember outside public, and then inside private's easy. So interface FA10 will be inside because it's private, so RPNAT inside, and then int SE20 will be RPNAT outside because it's public, and this will work. I'll show you really quickly. Let's just see what this IP address is. .1.2. Okay, it's ping.1.2. Let's work. Okay, it'll time out and then it'll work. Okay, you can see it worked. Now I'm going to show you in simulation that it actually works. And I'll show you that it changes the IP address of the source. So here's the ping packet over here. Capture forward, goes to the switch, goes to the router. Now let's have a look. Let's have a look at this. Okay, when it came, so in layers, so when it came in, the source IP address was 172.168.1.33, which is the IP address of the DHCP server, and when it went out, the source IP address changed to 207.168.1.1, which is the static address that we assigned the private to public, if that makes sense. I hope it does. If it doesn't, you got to do some reading. Okay, so now I'm going to move on to the next one just because I might be running a little bit short on time. So we're going to go ahead and do dynamic NAT, which is over here, and we're going to configure it on R2 because it's closest to the green network. So I'm going to push exit, and I want to push enter a bunch of times just so we don't have to see that stuff anymore. Okay, so you start by creating a RP NAT pool. So create a pool, so RP NAT pool, and I'm going to call my pool green because it's the green network, just out of convenience. And then now I'm going to specify my range, and my range is going to be from 207.168.1. Let's do from 100 to 200. So 100 207.168.1.200, and then you want to specify the subnet mask of this, which is 255.255.255. Where'd it go? .0. Okay, and then once you've done that, now you create an access list. If you don't know what an access list is, I have made a tutorial about extended and extended ACLs, which is abbreviation for access list, and there should be a link up right now that you can click on, and it'll take you there, and you can just watch what they're about, and then you can kind of get an idea, and then come back to this tutorial. Okay, so I'm going to create a standard access list. So and I'm going to call it 10, and this permits any green network address from going out, and you have to do this for NAT to work properly. Okay, and the wildcard mask, again, if you don't know what a wildcard mask is, watch my other tutorials, you'll see what I'm talking about. RP NAT inside, this is the tricky part. Now RP NAT inside, you would say source list, and then the name of the list, which is 10, and then the name of the pool that you created, which is green. So all you're doing is you're merging them into one another. Just think of it like that. Then you do again, you specify the inside and outside. So int SE20 will be the outside, and then int FA00, I know it's FA00 just because I typed it over there if you're wondering, and that'll be inside. Okay, so this should work. Let's just check to make sure. So oops, not terminal. So ping 2.168.1.1. That's the IP address over here. It should time out. Yep, it will time out, and then it'll work. What's this IP address? 8. Okay, so you can see it timed out, and then it worked. Okay, so let's do this quick. I want to do 2 just because when I do the simulation, you'll see why. Okay, so it should time out and then work. Come on. Okay, so it worked. So here we go. So we'll send a ping from this PC to this PC. Let's capture forward. Goes out. Oh, hang on, let's do that again, sorry. So we'll send it from this PC to this PC, and it goes out. Let's have a look over here. Okay, so when it came in, the source address was 172.168.1.1. When it left, the source address changed to 207.168.1.100, right? Okay, so then it carries on you'll see it carries on down that way. Now let's do from PC 6 to this PC over here, and you'll see that it won't use the same public address, it'll change it. So it came in as 172.168.1.2, which is the source IP address of the actual PC that sent the ping, and it changed it to 207.168.1.101. and if you can remember the previous packet that we just checked, it was .1.100, so, and that's in the range of 100 through to 200. I hope you get my gist. It's pretty simple stuff, but it can be pretty complicated at the same time. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and do NAT overload. I'm just going to actually disable NAT on this router. Okay, so let's go over here, conf T. Now NAT overload allows you to use one public IP address to let's use one public IP address to work for all of the private addresses. Okay, so you start by creating access list. I'm going to call this access list 1. It's also standard access list. I'm going to permit 192.168.1.0, which is the IP, which is the network address of this purple bluish network, and the wildcard mask is this. IP NAT has a complicated part inside source list, which is the list we just created, 1, and we're gonna connect that source list to the serial interface over here, which is serial interface 2/0, and then you want to say overload. Very important to put overload at the end, and then you just want to specify which is inside and which is out, which is IP NAT outside, and then int FA00 IP NAT inside. Okay, so let's have a look here quick. So let's send a ping from here to, oops, let's delete those quick. So here, delete, just delete. Okay, so send a ping from here through to this PC over here, and capture forward, and it changed it, came in, oh sorry, let's look at this one, came in with the source of the actual PC's IP address, and it changed it to 207.168.1.2, which is the IP address of this interface right over here. Now let me just show you what I mean by how it attaches the port number. So if you go show IP NAT translation, you can see 207.168.12. so inside local is the private, this section over here. So inside local is over here, inside global is this interface on the outside of the router, outside local is this interface, and then outside global is over here. So inside local is this IP address over here, 192.168.1.2, and it used port number 1. Used the port number 1, and that's how it referenced how to send the ping back to that PC when the private, when the NAT got the public address, looked at the port number, said, okay, this port number belongs to this PC, and it's attached to this public address, so it goes over there. I hope that makes sense. Okay, I've covered quite a bit in this tutorial. I've had to speak really quickly just because I've got a time limits that I have to hold to. So I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment box below. Please rate. It really helps my channel if you rate, and subscribe. That also really helps. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.